What would be the number one difference besides being able to shop the rate around? What's the difference?
I think when you look at the primary difference, it boils down to the ability to find the right program for that individual person. And when dealing with a mortgage broker, I work with banks that do nothing but mortgage financing.
Okay.
There's no other, they're not distracted by other shiny objects. Okay. It is, at the end of the day, they exist only to put people in homes or refinance those mortgages.
Right.
And as a result, there's a study came out in 2024 about the difference between a mortgage broker and a regular lender, a bank or a retail. And mortgage brokers save their clients more than $10,000 over the life of the loan.
Wow.
As a combination of the costs at closing, as well as the difference in rate over the course of that 30 or 15-year mortgage.
Okay, that's great. I mean, that's good to know. I think one of the other big issues that I have seen, and I'm generalizing, but we were talking about the 7 o'clock on a Saturday. Banking hours are not what your hours are.
Correct.
Right? So
I can get underwriting to review something essentially at any time of day.
Wow, that's really important. You know, a lot of folks, when they first are talking about kind of shopping around for a lender, whether it's a bank or a mortgage broker, they'll talk about, well, you know, I don't want them to pull my credit because I don't want the ding on my credit. What really goes into that? Well, is that a thing? Is that really a thing?
So if there's a hard inquiry on someone's credit, whether it's because they're working with a mortgage professional or they go to a box store and they apply for a credit card,
okay.
There's a hard inquiry. When there's a hard inquiry, there is that ding, that cost to your credit score of 10 to 30 points, depending on the circumstances. Depending on the loan program, there are options to do a soft review, and I can get all the information I need to issue that pre-approval. With a soft review, there is no ding, but I get the information I need to be able to make decisions. Okay.
Is there, 10 to 20 to 30 points, it sounds like a significant but not too significant thing. How long does that last?
Generally, you'll see all things being equal. So you continue to make payments on time. You don't allow credit card balances to rise. You'll see your score recover 3 to 4 months to return back to where you were.
Okay.
And that just so happens to be how long a hard credit pull lasts. Bridge financing.
Okay.
Those are good for 120 days.
Cool. So when somebody's getting ready for thinking about buying a home, what I oftentimes hear is, we have a question, what do you think your budget is? And they'll tell me, and I said, without being combative, how do you know that, right? Well, that's just kind of what I'd like to spend, right? But really...
Certainly. So there's a difference between what somebody is willing to pay on a monthly basis and what they can qualify for. And in a perfect world, the number that they're able to qualify for would be well higher, way north of what they are actually willing to pay. So at the end of the day, my job as a mortgage professional is 90% of the work is doing a fancy cash flow analysis. It's looking at all the income coming in and all the payments going out and keeping all those payments, including the new house, at less than roughly 50% of what someone makes.
Sure.
But if you were to extrapolate that and say, okay, I don't have any debt, I don't have any car payments, student loans, credit cards, theoretically, you could get approved for a monthly housing payment that is half of your pre-tax income, which is not necessarily the best personal financial position to be in. And so looking at a pre-approval, that's the majority of the analysis that goes in. It's that cash flow analysis. And then we take that and we talk with our clients to say, okay, if you could qualify for X, what would you really want to make that payment on? What is Y? And hopefully Y is less than X.
Okay. Well, that's good information. Thank you. Appreciate that. A lot of folks, when they're thinking about buying a home, they probably 3 scenarios. They either have been saving for years and they have this, this bunch of cash and they're going to use that for their down payment, or they're buying and selling and they're taking equity out because they're selling and they get this wad of cash, or they could get a gift, right?
Yes.
So talk to me about, like, how much do people really need to actually qualify to buy a home?
Well, what's interesting is there's a common misconception that you need at least a 20% down payment. But when you look at the statistics for last year, the average down payment was actually 16.
Oh, okay.
So the inverse of that being 84. So 84% of the home was financed. Depending on the loan program, if you happen to be a veteran or served in the Armed Forces, Reserves, National Guard, you may be eligible for a VA loan, which has 0 down payment requirements. But otherwise, it's 3 or 5% is the normal minimum down payment. And you can expect for every $1,000 that you put down, every extra $1,000, you're likely going to save somewhere between $5 and $8 per month.
Wow.
In your monthly payment.
Okay.
So $10,000 extra dollars, maybe you're saving $75 a month, which, don't get me wrong, that adds up over time.
Sure does.
But $10,000 is also a lot of money.
And you know, obviously, it's a big investment, right? I try to tell people your home is your first investment, but it's not an investment, right? It's where you're living. If you weren't living there, you'd have to live somewhere else. Hopefully it's not a van down by the river. There is a cost to owning a home. Something that I thought was kind of interesting, I just looked up, the average rent on Cape Cod right now is over $2,900 a month. $2,900 a month. That's higher than I thought it was going to be. But for maybe $500 more, you can get into your own home. What would be the advantage? I know we have a cheat sheet here, not on the list. Guess see you later. That's not there. What would be the advantage of having your own home versus renting? What would be the advantage if you were able to get a down payment, either by saving or by borrowing from friends or family? What would be the advantage to buying?
It's interesting. The number one reason why people first-time homebuyers cite buying a house, the number one reason is because it's still the American dream to be a homeowner. Okay. And what happens when you do realize that slice of the American dream is it's critically important. You always have to have a roof over your head. If you're paying rent, you are providing that roof, but you're also not building long-term wealth. And what happens when you own a home is, over time, with a long enough time horizon, you are going to see that value appreciate over time. And I have clients that I put into a home in 2017, 2018 with 0 down payment because it was a VA loan, with 3.5% down because it was an FHA loan, or 20% down, that saw their home values quite literally nearly double over in the 8 years since.
Wow.
And that's what you don't get in paying rent.
Right.
You aren't seeing that wealth accumulate over time. And don't get me wrong, there's differences in home ownership versus rent from a cost outlay perspective. But the number one retirement vehicle for Americans is the equity in their homes.
Right. Wow.
And paying down that loan balance over the 30 years.
I think it's also interesting that it's definitely a more permanent solution than renting. That's not to say that renting is bad, but if you are going to be in a location or planning to be in a location more than 5 to 7 years.
Absolutely. The longer you see yourself.
Yeah, you're kind of not only going to take advantage of the equity that you're building, but you're also going to take advantage of the fact that you don't get a month where the landlord says, I'm selling the house.
And that's what we're seeing a lot right now on the Cape, is for the very reason I just mentioned. Values are higher than they've ever been on the Cape. And a lot of investors, a lot of landlords are taking this opportunity to cash out. And if you are renting that house, you're on the clock now to figure out where's your next roof going to be.
Exactly. Well, you know, I think we should have another time in the car.
Yes.
This was very productive.
Very productive.
If folks want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you, Rob?
The best place is to go to my website, sparrowmortgage.com.
And my website, if you're looking, is thriveoncapecod.com. I'm Ryan Mann.
I'm Rob Foos.
And we would love to hear some feedback about what questions you are thinking about, either in the home buying process or the mortgage market and how things are going. Either reach out anywhere where you're seeing this video, reach out to us personally from our websites. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.